We're back.
Alrighty. Just going to confirm that they're ready one last time before we start. Both players are ready, so we're going to go for it. Again, this is MLG dual site, so it should be an interesting game. We do have, it's a two-player map, so you do have the potential for some early aggression, but you also, you can see some longer macro games as well, because it is fairly easy to take that third, even though it's a little bit hard to defend.
Yeah, but once again, I feel like it's not a very good map for Protoss to play a defensive game just because of the wide chokes. That force field just isn't as effective on this map for defending as on other maps. So I feel like this is a map for Protoss to do some sort of two-base all-in.
Yeah, and as there are some wide chokes, I mean, as long as you get to pick where you engage, you should be okay, but, Terrans have a lot of ways that they can force engagements with Stim and Vikings and all that, so we'll have to see what ends up happening here.
I even feel like the Ghost Rush that were kind of popular a while ago, off of like 3 racks, I think even without an expansion, just like a 7-minute Ghost push where you had like 2 EMPs, I feel like that would be something very effective here against some sort of fast expansion.
Definitely. I mean, this natural is really wide open. There's pretty much 2 really large choke points coming into it, and if the Terran splits their units and comes in from 2 different angles, there's not much the Protoss can do about it early in the game before any AoE gets out.
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly, but I think they're like 3 and 4 force fields each. So it takes a lot to try and block yourself in, compared to Shakuris, the last map, where you can do it with 2 force fields on that ramp to your natural. So we are going to see gas this time from Terran. Not going to have that super fast expansion like we did in the last game.
And again, we do see Bales kind of doing a half wall off with that first gateway. It was interesting. Last game he did the same thing and then planted his cyber further back. So I'm not sure what the purpose is of that gateway. I guess he maybe just want the option to fully wall in if he needs to at some point. Maybe for like a Marine SCV all in or something like that. But
yeah, interesting. Because he doesn't put his core up there, so it's like he's just keeping the option open. We'll have to ask him about that at some point. Hopefully he wins so we can interview him and ask him about that. In the meantime, we see the second gas indicating that we're not going to have quite as quick of an expansion here from Protoss player. And we have our racks going down, hidden in the bottom of the map.
Interesting. So 1 Rax is proxied. It's not super early, but there is a gas and there is a reactor first on the first barracks. So, to Bales, he can't get in. I almost would have liked this more if Void let the probe in to see no second barracks, so you'd think it was a basically reactor expand. But as is, it looks like we're going to see like a 2 racks push, maybe with concussive shells and a lot of Marines. We'll have to see here what Void decides to do.
Yeah, he did fortunately get to see that reactor. That's pretty nice for Protoss. Gives him some indication of what's coming. Of course, this can still be, some sort of Marine tank Banshee opening. That the reactor first is pretty popular with that kind of opening too. So it's not going to be real conclusive to him that there's a gateway push coming.
And we have Bales poking out with the Stalker, checking the tower. He's going to probably try to poke up the ramp here and see what he can get done against these Marines. Although he has to be careful, 2 more Marines are going to pop out, and 5 Marines can definitely take out a Stalker pretty quickly.
Definitely. And he's built a robo, so let's just hope he doesn't expand right after this. Okay, he's putting down some more gateways. Because if you go 1 gate, 1 robo expand against a build like this with the proxy Marauders, you would die, most definitely. Oh, and he might lose that Stalker. Oh, the smoke just saves him.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, as long as Bales gets an Immortal out pretty quickly with this, he should be okay. I mean, if he makes 4 observers before anything else, like he did last game, he's going to be in serious trouble. I mean, he does have 2 gateways, but 1 is only halfway done.
Oh, and the Stalker's missed these Marines crossing the map. He has no idea that this is coming.
He does see 2 more moving out, but I mean, he doesn't know anything. They could just be scouts or going to take the towers, and he's in some real danger. These units are at his natural. And bunker even going down here. So looks like Void is probably going to see.
And is he going to hit the force field? Oh,
oh wow! Really late, and the units
he misses the force field, and I think that may be it. He may be straight up dead from this. Because this is a lot of forces, a lot faster than he expected.
This pylon is going to go down, and that will unpower that gateway, so he'll be in real trouble. There is an immortal about to pop out in about 15 seconds here, so he might, he should probably be okay. He might have to pull some probes, but he's going to take a lot of damage here.
I think he definitely is going to have to pull some probes here and control this really well. There are the probes.
They're a little too far ahead of the other units, and some good kiting there by Void, and actually he lost all those probes. The Marines and Marauders are out of the base, but he's already done the damage he needs to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it looks like Void is going to throw probably a command center down at home behind this. He's saved up the money, and he has an SCV moved away. We'll have to see what he does.
Void does have to be pretty careful. He's given himself an 8-worker lead here, but as far as the armies, Protoss has a little bit bigger army, and he's putting down 3 more gates. So he's going to try and push, and Void needs to be careful here. If he doesn't get his bunkers up quickly enough, he might just die to this push.
Yeah, he got a little bit overly aggressive there, trying to poke up that ramp. He knew the Immortal was out. He knew there were there was a sentry.
And a little misclick. All the probes moved off of mining. He's got to put some back on gas now.
Yeah, and I really don't know why Void is being so aggressive with these units. He really needs to go home with them and just turtle up. He knows that there's no expansion out for Bales, and he just built his own command center, so he really has to be careful here.
Yeah, he's got 1 bunker up. He's got a second one going up at his natural. And importantly, Stim has finished at that proxy barracks. So he is going to have Stim against this push, and I would say that he should be pretty safe as long as he controls this well.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, he is really badly supply blocked. The command center is about to finish, which will help that. But these units down at the proxy barracks are not going to be a factor, and he only has 1 reactor barracks in his main to reinforce his front. And he does have a starport and reactor about to finish on the factory. So he's going to go into some medevacs here, and maybe some Vikings. We'll have to see what he decides to do first.
Yeah, I feel like this was a little bit too greedy from him. He's got the SCVs down there, but they're not repairing the bunker. That bunker is going to go down.
Yeah, some great force fields there. Looks like he does manage to pick off almost all the sentries out of Bales' army, but again, Void is being too aggressive with his units here.
And he's landing the command center in the midst of this. That makes no sense to me. And I think he might just lose here. He is losing all of his army, and those 2 Immortals are going to be so powerful. That Observer's still there, is going to be able to harass his way up. And I think Bales has turned this game around.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely something you have to watch out for when you try to do the 2 barracks pressure into expand. It's really easy for that point for Protoss just to go all in. And that's what you have to watch for.
And I can't believe that this game turned around like that. I mean, there was a significant advantage for Void. If he had just played safe, see, he teched and expanded, trying to be so greedy. He was only producing off of 1 barracks at home. The units from that second barracks were just sitting there.
He probably would have even been okay if he had just gone home after killing those initial probes in the first engagement on the ramp there. So, I think at that point he should have just gone home and turtled up at knowing he was ahead on workers.
Yeah.
And also earlier on the expansion.
Yeah, I just feel like that choice to do both the expansion and the tech was not a good choice. One or the other would have been okay, I think, with the lead that he'd given himself economically.
Definitely, yeah. And at that point, when the Immortal pops out and you have 2 stalkers ready to, 2 sentries ready to force field, at that point your early aggression is over. You need to go home and macro up.
Right. I mean, and he did significant damage. He got those 2 pylons and a good handful of probes, as well as, I'm not sure how many units were lost, but it was good damage for Terran.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was, I believe, only I think it was just a Zealot and those probes, but it was 5 or 6 probes. He pulled a good 8 off the line, and I think only 2 ended up getting back. So that is a pretty good amount of damage to do early in the game like that.
Yeah.
So just a quick report on the stream quality. We only dropped 11 frames during that game, so
yeah, it looked much less laggy, thankfully.
A lot better, so hopefully that is the case. Let us know in the chat if everything's looking good, and thank you everyone for watching.
And I want to remind you guys that we are, this organization, Midwest Esports League, is funded by our personal money at this point. We don't have any sponsors. So if you guys would like to donate to support us in our stream right now in between the games, and I believe during the games, we've got information popping up that shows you how you can send money to us through PayPal. So if you'd like to support us and what we're doing here, feel free to donate. And we do have the map choice from Void now. He's chosen Antigua.
Just getting all the players into the game here. Bear with us.
And we didn't mention this earlier, but both of these players claimed that this is their worst matchup. They both said that they were best against Zerg and worst against in TVP and PVT. So a little interesting there, and so far I've been fairly impressed with the play. Certainly the control in that first game for Bales to hold off after being in that impossible position with the tanks below his ramp. I was very impressed with that play.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, really both players were showing that they definitely know what they're doing. There were some strange mistakes, but you know. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get into the game here. Our map again is Antigua Shipyard, and it is the MLG version, so that has cross spawns enforced. So we should see a nicer macro game. It's really easy to get up on 3 bases in this matchup on this map. So we'll have to see what ends up happening here. It will be nice to see a longer game yet again here. So we have Solid Bills actually now playing for Team R8, or sorry, Team IMP. He does not have a name change available. We have Bales as the green Protoss at the top left-hand side of the map, and in the bottom side of the map we have Void from Team RH as the blue Terran. So we're going to be starting off here. It looks like Bales is positioning his first pylon ready to lay down that first gateway on the ramp again. Seems to be his go-to build.
Yep, certainly. How do you feel as a Terran about walling off versus not walling off against Protoss?
It's really not that big of a deal. What I prefer to do personally is to do what Void is kind of starting to do here by putting your first depot at the ramp. But I like to put the barracks actually in my main, and then put a second depot also at the ramp. That way, if you do need to wall off for any reason, you can just throw a bunker there, or even drop a barracks if you need a higher HP building.
Yeah.
That's my personal preference, but you know, there's no reason not to put your barracks, your first barracks there to wall in, especially if you're not going to put an add-on on it right away.
Yeah.
In some spawn positions, it doesn't really matter. You can have the add-on hang off into your main, but in a lot, you actually can't put the add-on there if you build it at the ramp. So usually, building that first barracks at the ramp like this means that he's going for a gasless fast expand.
Sure. As a Protoss player, I unfortunately don't do many VoidRH all-ins, which is, you know, really the disadvantage of the wall-in like that. Having that wall in at your front, you really get punished by a VoidRH all-in. But I don't really take advantage of that, and I get very frustrated when like this Protoss has. I come and I see 2 supply depots and a barracks, and that's all I get to see. I don't get to see for sure whether there's gas behind this or not. Because there could certainly be 2 gas going up right now, going into some sort of cloaked Banshee play. And, you know, as a Protoss, you just don't know. So,
yeah, and I think the thing with the VoidRH all-in really is, usually if you're doing a 1 racks expand, unless you go straight into like 4 or 5 racks without gas, pumping out Marines, you're probably going to die to a VoidRH all-in anyways. So it's much safer just to wall in at the front in case of anything like a a 4-gate or something zealot heavy.
When was the last time you saw a 4-gate? I can think of Huck doing one against Nada like 6 months ago. That's about the last pro game I think I remember a 4-gate in PvT. Actually, no, I take that back. They're popular on Tal'Darim Altar.
Yeah, that map especially, and actually the 5-gate, which is 5 gates off one base, similar to almost like a 6-gate all-in, a little bit sentry heavy, is also quite powerful against Terran. Laying that pylon on the low ground and making it look like you're going to fast expand and then throwing down some extra gateways instead is quite deadly against a gasless fast expand.
Yeah, I guess it's much different than the PvP 4-gate where you're trying to hit as quickly as possible. The modern sort of 4-gate against Terran isn't so much about that speed.
Hold on here, actually, sorry, I just noticed this, but there is a Twilight Council just finishing up in Bails' base, and 2 more gateways getting added on, so it's going to be 3 gates with a Twilight Council. It looks like Blink is being researched, so not going to see any DTs or anything quite yet.
We'll see if he adds on a robo for some observers, so he can get more harass out of this, or if he's... I want to say that Hero plays a style kind of like this, except he expands. But he likes to, and there's the robo, so we will have observers, but he likes to go for that early blink against fast expands like this and just kind of take map control and then go into a fast third.
Yeah, the blink in PvT has actually been gaining a lot of popularity lately, so this is definitely becoming the new standard, and with no expansion it looks like this might just be a Blink all-in, which is going to be interesting. I mean, with Void only having all Marines at this point, and actually is supply blocked right now, he just finished a depot, so he is back to producing Marines, but with 5 barracks he might be okay, but I mean, Stalkers are really good against Marines, especially with Blink.
Yeah, I definitely agree, although 5 barracks is a lot pumping out at the time, and I mean, this is very, very all-in for Protoss to not have an expansion against this gasless fast expansion. He's going to be so far behind if he can't do the damage here.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, Void is playing pretty safe. He's still pumping Marines with no gas. He's not being so greedy as he was earlier. And actually, this is really going to help him out as well. In his main, he has supply depots placed around the edges of his main, so he's going to be able to see those Stalkers coming really early.
Yeah, and I'm kind of confused why the robo was quite so late. As we see the observer is just now coming over, and Blink's been done for a significant amount of time. And we see the pylon going up outside of those supply depots, and Terran's going to be aware of that going on. And he's moving out. This seems like a kind of a silly move because of the Blink up into the main like that. And he's going to go for these pylons.
I'm not sure what Bails is doing. He really shouldn't be just sitting there. Well, actually, Void is pulling the SCVs to him. I was going to say that Bails should be going for the SCVs, but looks like Void will manage to chase this out, and his Marines are excellently positioned to trap them in if, Bails really can't leave at this point, but he has done a ton of damage.
And now we don't have a pylon for Protoss. He's not going to be able to reinforce this, so it's just going to be these 7 Stalkers and the damage that they can do. He is expanding in the background here, so I think he may have done enough economic damage there, even in worker count, that this may go into an even longer game. Ooh, and kind of an offensive blink there, blinking up past those barracks towards the Marines. Interesting choice there. And we see the Marines trying to pin in these Stalkers, some coming around from the back, but it looks like they're going to get out and get away. That observer is going to get knocked down, though.
Doing a great job with that scan, but I mean, at this point, all these Marines that he has out here are dead. And I don't see another observer anywhere on the map. He is
there is
starting
one right
to build
there.
another.
Just to
sorry,
the right of the
I'm
Stalkers.
blind officially, but looks like Bails now is going to poke up the ramp, but there's too many Marines here to get anything done.
Indeed, but we do have a fairly stable game, I would say. Ooh.
Yeah, but again, Void is having trouble with his worker balance. He's got almost 30 workers here mining in his natural, and hardly any in his main. That's
and he's not mining any of that gas that he's taken.
Oh
And the
man,
blink into the main.
Yeah, picking off that missile turret just before it finishes, managing to take out that observer. Void is kind of in some trouble here. I mean, these blink stalkers are just tearing him apart. And the marine count is really low, and he might just die right now.
Yeah, and I think these blink stalkers are just too much for Void to handle. This has been some very good decision making. Of course, this is a map that kind of is unique in that the distance from that ramp down to the natural all the way to the back, I guess over on the left side, and there's GG. But the point I'm trying to get at is that it's a really good map for both blink and drops, and that you can abuse going towards the ramp and then going into the back, moving back and forth there. So we have a 3-0 so far from our Protoss player, Bales. And the fact that it's 3-0, I don't feel is very accurate as far as how the games have gone. I feel like Void has been ahead in both of the first two games. And certainly, well, yeah, I feel like he stood a really good chance in that third game as well.
So given where the players stand right now, what would you think they might try this next game?
At this point, if I were Bales, I would almost certainly do some kind of all-in play. Void it really should just play real safe.
It sounds good. I mean, what do you have to lose at this point? Up 3-0 in a best of 7?
Right, yeah, I mean, he did kind of do a bit of an all-in build. Hold on here, I gotta type out some map info.
Gotcha.
Void at this point says he doesn't care about the map choice, whatever, so I don't think we're going to have like a carefully planned cheese designed for one of these maps. I certainly hope he doesn't give up.
Okay, yeah. Sounds a little disheartened.
Yeah, and he's been doing so well in these games.
Yes.
It's not at all that he's outmatched here by Bales.
Yeah, he's had, I don't want to call them build order losses, but they're almost build order losses that he's had so far.
Right, well the fact that he didn't have any Marauders to combat those blink stalkers is certainly not helpful for him.
And in the second game, pushing forward probably when he should have fallen
yeah,
back
that was
after he did
certainly
that initial damage.
That was certainly his decision making that lost him that game.
True.
So, Void is letting Bales make the pick of the map, and Bales has chosen Terminus. An interesting choice to me for PvT, because I'm really uncomfortable on this map.
Yeah, it is really easy to get up on 3 bases as pretty much any race on this map, though, so hopefully we will see another macro game.
So you said Void let Bales choose?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Let's see how that turns out for him. I'm rooting for him this time. I'm hoping he pulls it off.
And if you just tuned in, this is the Midwest Esports League second show match. Check us out on Twitter at Midwest Esports, and on Facebook you can look up the Midwest Esports League. Follow us at those locations so you find out more about other events that we're putting on. We're going to keep doing show matches like this and hopefully expand into some other stuff.
Yep, and you'll be able to find all of the VODs as well as future video productions. We want to go to some bar crafts and things like that in the near future, as well as maybe put on some tournaments, and you can find those at youtube.com/Midwest Esports League. Just making sure our players are ready here. And they are. We're going to go ahead and start up the game here.
So this is potentially our last game. Unfortunately, these have been such good games. I'd be really disappointed if it ended in a 4-0. I feel like by no means is Void incapable of coming back and winning this thing, even from this point.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen really solid play from him this series. It's just been, you know, unfortunate engagements, or, you know, his army caught out of position, things like that, or, you know, perhaps being a little bit too aggressive. But, you know, his macro has proved to be on par, if not slightly better in that macro game than Bales. You know, he did max out quicker and have a lot more resources banked, but, you know, we'll have to see what ends up happening here. This map is not very friendly for early aggression.
No, it's not. Certainly those distances aren't helpful. And again, I think we're going to see that sort of gateway at the top of the ramp that Bales has been doing in all these games. Again, I'm really intrigued to find out what the reasoning is behind that.
I really have to guess it's something to do with either like a bunker rush prevention or marine SCV all-in prevention. It's kind of what it seems like. Those are, I think, the only real logical choices in my mind.
Yeah, it's either that or he just wants to be able to get his units out as quickly as possible, get them as close to the opponent's base when they pop out. That could also be a factor, but I don't think that would be the whole reason. You know, because he's putting it in a very specific location. It's not just close to the ramp.
We do see Void throwing down a pretty early gas on 13, and meanwhile Bales is going to be going for a Nexus first at the 3rd, it looks like.
Interesting.
So this might get a little dicey for him with the you know, early gas from Void. We'll have to see. Actually, Bales does end up planting that Nexus at the natural. He was just checking the 3rd for any proxy, I think.
Makes sense. And unfortunately, he's going to scout Terran last, and he probably, well, we're seeing a reactor first from Void, or sorry, a tech lab first from Void. So there's not going to be a Marine to deny at least seeing that much. There is a wall off, so Protoss isn't going to get to go in and see, but he is going to know about this tech lab and thus the gas behind it.
Yeah, and interestingly, this is not a Reaper, so it's not a Reaper expand, it's actually a Marauder first, so we'll have to see, is this a Marauder expand? I mean, he hasn't thrown down the 2nd barracks, which it should be down by now if he was going for a 2 barracks pressure build, usually at least.
Yeah, and we see 2 gates early here. I understand that this is kind of a popular style from what I've heard. I've not really observed this much after the fast expansion like this. I'm used to going gate, core, gate. But we'll see how this works out. And we do see the probe on patrol out in front of there, just in case there's a bunker that tries to go down here.
Well, and with Concussive Shell on the way, waiting on that cybernetics core as long as he did, I mean, granted, the 2nd gateway didn't really delay it that much, but he's got to be careful here. The Zealots are going to be kited really easily by those Marauders with Concussive Shell, if they do
absolutely.
engage.
We see 2 out already. If he expands after this, this will be very interesting, because that's kind of the old style. Like a year ago was very popular to do, you know, like a 1-Rax Marauder expand. And that's what he's going to do. He's going to expand off this. So very interesting choices.
Yeah, and a good choice here to move out with these Marauders, put on some early pressure. You know, with 2 Stalkers being chrono boosted out now, and, you know, 2 more units will be right on their heels, I don't think he can really do much damage, and Void does pull back with the Marauders, so we won't see any early pressure at this time.
Yeah, I actually really like the way Bales is doing this opening, getting those 2 Stalkers as quickly as possible. I think I may steal that. I'll have to look exactly at the timings, but it feels pretty comfortable to me.
Yeah, that should be pretty safe, holding off pretty much any early pressure, you know, save a Marine SCV all-in. You may need to pull some probes against something like a 2 or 3 racks, but, you know, really a pretty safe build, and Bales is holding the tower and is watching his map vision, does manage to pull his Stalker and Zealot back.
Oh, he's got to be careful a little longer here.
Uh-oh. He is going to maybe lose this Stalker. There he goes. Does pull it back before it gets hit by the Concussive Shell. Good move there.
And this might actually be a little hard to hold off. Oh, Marauders are going to turn around now, but 3 Stalkers is actually not that much against 4 Marauders with Concussive Shell. It's very hard early game.
he did have a Marine and now a Zealot and now a Stalker popping out, so I think he would have been okay, but it might have gotten a little bit dicey there for sure.
We see a third and now a fourth gateway going to go down here for Protoss. We see he got his warp gate done pretty quickly here. He's got some very tight timings here as far as getting those stalkers out, getting the warp gate and the 3 gateways timed out. I really like the way he's doing this. This feels like very well planned out build here, and I really like it. I'm really impressed with this guy's play.
Yeah, he has gone up to 4 gateways again before tech. So again, playing pretty safe. Something like a Cloak Banshee might have put him in some trouble, but he reacted to seeing the Marauders by knowing my opponent's not going to have enough gas to really do anything here. So
yeah, and that's
really
so important.
Play.
Yeah, it's almost. Yeah, go ahead.
Bales is pushing up here. He's going to poke at the front of Void, and he really has to be careful because these Stalkers could die really quickly to the concussive shell. Luckily, he does manage to get away, but that could have been dangerous.
Now we have the 4th gate up, and we're going to see a Robo and a Twilight Council. So we're kind of reaching a similar structure to that first game on Shakur's Plateau, where he had 4 gateways, a Robo, and a Twilight Council, and then he followed up with double upgrades. So we'll see if he's doing the same sort of build here with a different opening.
Yeah, and looking into Void's base, actually he still hasn't gotten a tech lab on a barracks yet at 9 minutes, which is really late. He has 2 barracks up. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not here tonight, but he does have a +1 just finishing right now. Has not started combat shields, but he is making Marines and Marauders, and now adding a reactor and a starport. So he's going to be pumping out probably some medevacs and maybe Vikings if Bales does decide to go into Colossus. But for now, he's just building his trademark multiple observers.
Yep. Which, again, another thing that really impresses me about his play, wanting to be really safe, investing into multiple observers like this really says that you feel like if you know what's going on, you can control the game and win. You're willing to sacrifice those resources to get the knowledge, rather than taking any risks, taking any chances. That just communicates to me. The better and the scouting is, and the more a player invests in it, that just communicates confidence to me.
Well, and it makes a lot of sense with the current TVP metagame being so drop-heavy and multi-prong oriented. Having those observers all over the map really helps. It helps you split your army effectively and get into really good engagements. We do see Void moving out with a floating factory and a decent-sized ball of Marines and Marauders at this point. They're actually moving out with his first 2 medevacs popping out. So this is going to be an interesting timing. It is a little bit later than usual at 11 minutes. I think this could hit with either 2 more medevacs or like a minute earlier. But he has a decent-sized army, and unless Bales can get some pretty good force fields off, he might be in some trouble here.
Yeah, we'll have to see how the force fields go. It's really all going to come down to that. And
here
he tries to lure him out.
Yeah, both players pulling back, being cautious. 2 medevacs get loaded up, which is a little bit dangerous at this point. I mean, Void has to be careful here. One
headed into the main. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to see an engagement. Luckily for Void, I don't think he could take this, but Bales does pull back. His Zealots and Stalkers are going to...
there's the stem at the front and the force fields. Excellent force fields. He just needs 1 more. Oh, he didn't get the additional force field, but Void turns around, so it's going to be okay.
Yeah, and the drop did get cleaned up. I think that hole was actually maybe too small for a Marauder to get through, so he didn't want to go for it quite there. We do have, it looks like, only 3 medevacs out on the field now, because the one that was the drop did get taken out. So that medevac number getting pretty high, it can be a little bit scary for Bales, just massive healing going out.
And we do see 3rd bases coming out for both players. Terran's just built his in his main, getting the orbital finished up here. Assumably, he'll be floating that out pretty soon. Go ahead.
Sorry, all of Void's production structures have actually unrallied.
Yeah, that was what I was just going to say.
Must have died, so a little bit dangerous. Void does load up a medevac and scan to take out the observer. Dropship is going to go into the 3rd, and Bales does see it coming, so he's going to have a pretty good reaction time, warping in some Zealots to take care of this. Meanwhile, an engagement coming in the front, but I don't think Void has enough to do any damage
and there's
here.
A storm.
Yeah, he's really got to be careful. I mean, he has so many units just sitting under the barracks in his main. It's really painful to watch. Actually, Void did a great job with the control there, managing to be really efficient, kiting those zealots, and the stalkers for Bale have been sitting in the main this whole time because you know, he's been so worried about these drops.
Yeah, and there's a warp prism at the third base. The third command center has now landed. There's a warp prism that warped in a single zealot that's harassing that. Warp prism's going to move out and wait till things get juicier with a few more SUVs there.
Yeah, and actually right now, it looks like Void is slightly ahead on upgrades. He's got 1-1 completed. Gonna pick off this High Templar, and actually doesn't quite get it, but gonna force an engagement here. Really
and a drop in the main. At the same time, the Blink Stalker's coming back to try and deal with that. There aren't enough there. He's got to wait a little bit and regroup. So
Yeah,
far, he's only lost a pylon.
There's the engagement going on at the front at the same time, but the Marines and Marauders are just getting torn apart. And actually, he's being a little sloppy with these medevacs, might lose a couple. Meanwhile, the drop in the main is cleaning up these Blink Stalkers. Great micro coming out from Bales, but with this warp-in of Zealots, I think he's going to manage to clean this up.
Yeah, we see Zealots chasing all the way across the map, still getting a few kills here. And
Yep.
things are going to cool off a little bit here. The medevac heads home. Those Zealots turn around, and that factory finally dies. That factory's been sitting there for such a long time.
And we did actually miss a drop down at the third of Void. It looks like Bales had a warp prism down there. The command center, all the workers are dead. The command center is damaged, and there's a few units down there. So yeah, there was a.
And in the main, we got a couple Marauders still being dropped. So these guys are keeping up some pretty constant multiple front battles.
Yep, and here comes the warp prism again. Jinx. Actually, he's going to lose that warp prism. Well, sorry, stream lag and all that. But yeah, so it looks like both players are just going to fall back on their 3 bases, macro up, and you know, this isn't looking too bad for Void at this point. He is a little bit ahead on upgrades. He's not ahead in workers, but thanks to the mules, he's way ahead on income. But again, he's got way too many SCVs at his natural. He's got, you know, like 30 there. He does have a ton of medevacs, 8. He really should stop medevac production, and he has. He started Vikings because he spotted that Robo Bay. Although there are only 2 Colossi out from Bales right now, and a lot of storms.
We see 11 barracks coming out for Terran, 10 gateways.
Oh no! Ghost getting sniped here by the Blink Stalkers. The Ghost was moving out to try to get an EMP or maybe some snipes off on the Templar. Really great move there by Bales, protecting his Templar.
And we have Protoss securing his 4th base out in the middle of the map. And we're moving into a very interesting game here.
Ooh, doing a great job there. Void just picked off Bales' Observer with his main army so he can cloak the Ghost. If he has Cloak done, he does not actually. So, you know, it is about to finish here in about 20 seconds, but looks like
he's not going to have time. Here comes Protoss.
Yep, this is going to be scary. I mean,
and he's not going to hit the EMPs. He missed the EMPs with those Ghosts.
Really bad
the storms have been whiffed, and the Colossus are attacking empty bunkers here. But there are just so many forces for Protoss, and he's still got storms left.
Yeah, Void actually did a really great job, and ooh, really nice Templar.
Ooh, excellent storms.
Great storms. Yeah, I think this might be GG. A lot more warp-ins coming in. Charge lots to reinforce this, and there's not much Void can do at this point. There's the GG.
Wow, and again, I'm just so impressed with Bales' control overall. You know, in that battle, he was attacking some bunkers that were empty, and his zealots were getting clumped up, chasing away. But in the midst of that, he was bringing in his warp prism and warping in units. Just overall, his control. I want to be like that.
Yeah, and we consistently saw him being so patient the entire game long. I mean, especially even in game 1, you know, when the tank push was coming, he just sat back, kept building up units, waited for that Colossus to come out. He didn't get hasty with the Blink Stalkers. And again, there in that game, he probably really could have crushed that army if he had gotten good force fields when Void pushed out at the 11-minute mark. But again, he just sat back and was comfortable just being patient and waiting for himself to get further ahead.
And we're going to see here if we can get hold of Bales to do our interview. Um, just a moment here, and I'm going to try and get him added on Skype.
So again, just reminding you guys that this was our Midwest Esports League Showmatch. Void took, or sorry, Bales took it 4-0 over Void. So Bales is going to go home with the $35 first place prize, and Void won't go home empty-handed at all. He's going to be going home with a $15 second place prize. So we did see some great games here. You know, the 4-0 score I don't think really shows the whole story. Void did play really well in those games.
Right, by no means were any of those games walkovers.
Very true. Games 1 and 2 easily could have gone either way. Just a few positional things and a few different engagements easily could have gone either way. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Unfortunately, we didn't get on the Team Liquid calendar, so viewership was down this week. However, we're going to continue doing this, trying to gain a little more notoriety and trying to help the players from the Midwest get their names out there, earn a few bucks, and hopefully have a little bit of fun while doing it.
Yeah, and we've been getting some great responses out of the forums. Our posts there looking for a better, or not better, but more talented Midwestern players, and we do have some pretty exciting matches coming up, so stay tuned for further announcements.
Definitely, definitely. Some exciting players coming up. So official announcement for that to come soon.
Right.
Don't want to say anything yet because it's
That's
not
true.
official, but we'll keep our fingers crossed.
That's right. That's right. Oh,
All right.
tried to add him there and didn't quite get him.
Still working on getting Bales added to the call here for a little post-match interview.
And anyone who cares to stick around, we'll probably do a little few matches, little friendly matches after the interview. Might do some mountain battles or something of the sort. So if you care to stick around. And also would like to remind anyone who lives in the Midwest, that would be the states that are currently pictured on the stream: North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. If you are high masters or grandmasters, we'd like to hear from you. Email us at midwestesportsleague@gmail.com, and hopefully we'll hear from you, and hopefully we can get you set up on one of our Thursday night show matches.
Yep, and remember to follow us at Midwest Esports on Twitter, as well as check out our videos at youtube.com/Midwest Esports League. And then, of course, as always, if you want to contact us or donate, you can do so at midwestesportsleague@gmail.com. Now, if you want to donate and you'd like to directly donate to one of the players you see play, go ahead and send us that and mention in your transaction comment, I want this to be a tip to this player, or you could say, I want this to go to future events, future prize pools. Just let us know what you want to see, and we'll definitely do the best we can to either make what you want to see happen, or if you do want to tip a player directly, feel free to do so, and we will send that money to them along with their winnings.
Definitely, definitely. Oh wow. Viewership for some reason has bumped up to 10 now. We were down to 6, and now that we're done, I guess we're probably all checking the stream.
And Aaron, actually, could you add Bales to the call here?
Yeah, no problem. Let's see.
And while we were having our show match, I fell 2 ranks
Oh
in
no.
my master's division. How painful.
Let's see. Click to call. Oh, I need to add to the call. Add them to contacts. There we go.
Bear with us here, guys. Sorry for this. This is still just our second show match, so we're
That
still
is
getting
true.
everything thrown together.
Hey guys.
Howdy. Congratulations.
What's up? Thanks, man.
Excellent play. I was very impressed.
Yeah, I've been practicing my PVT just for this show match, and I'm glad I played that well. 4-0 is not bad.
Yeah, and it's funny because 4-0, like, those were close games.
Yeah, for sure.
Certainly games 1 and 2, I felt that there was a point where Void had an advantage on you.
The proxy marauders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I did. Yeah.
because he went into Starport and expanded after that, and
Right.
he was up about 10 workers, but
Yeah.
he didn't
killed
make enough forces.
Yeah, he killed about 5 or 6 or 7 maybe of my probes with that 2-racks, and I was not expecting the proxy marauders at all. I scouted the reactor on the barracks, and I knew there could be 2-racks possible, but I didn't see any marauders at the top of the ramp or anything, and caught me off guard a little bit. But I force fielded it off just the marauders, and it bought me time to get my immortal out, and I cleaned it up somewhat. So
And then go ahead.
Yeah, we actually were really curious watching your play. What's the deal with putting your first gateway at the ramp, almost PVZ style?
yeah, I do that in a lot of my matchups just because if they are proxy raxing, proxy gating, you can wall it off with a forge and then complete the wall. I know it doesn't have much, but I'm always the person who doesn't take the risks, and it's just safer.
Yeah, it's a very unique but thoughtful little touch there.
So that would actually be your response against a 2-racks proxy would be the forge and wall off?
Oh, not like a gasless 2-racks then maybe, but 2-racks like a marauders then no. The gateway just kind of be in the way, but it wouldn't really matter.
Something more like a Marine SCV all-in.
Yeah, correct.
Interesting.
Yeah, and forgot what I was gonna say. Completely forgot. I don't know.
I was going to go back to game 1, where you missed the Marines and tanks coming across the map.
Yeah.
Until they were right on your doorstep, and I at that point I thought it was over.
Yeah, I did. I did too.
When you got tanks at the bottom of your ramp like that, it is so hard. And you expanded in the midst of that.
Yeah, I mean, I did not, like you said, I did not see that coming at all, and I mean, it ended up working out great for me because I got my upgrades out. I somehow held it off, and it put me at a huge advantage. I think his upgrades were not as near as good as mine, and his medevac tech was not delayed, or it was delayed, and the cloak banshees almost did nothing. So that put me pretty far ahead.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, one thing we definitely noticed with your play was just the sheer patience in moments of panic. I mean, do you model your play style after any particular pro player, or do you kind of just do your own thing? And
well, recently I've been watching OGS Vines. He's got a really solid PvT style, and it's pretty much what I've been doing the macro games, which was go up to 4 gateways after 1 gate expand, and then get the robo. That sounds pretty standard, but usually they go up to 3 gateways. But 4 is just a little bit safer, more conservative. Delays your tech maybe a little bit, and then go into Twilight, get Blink first. That helps deal with drops a lot. And
so that 4 gate wasn't for aggressive purposes; it was just to stay a little safer.
Yep. I mean, I can be aggressive on maps like Shattered, or even that map like Terminus. I could have been, but I didn't have good scouting intel, so I didn't know if he was doing like an all-in, and if I got to his base. If I was warping in off those 4 gates and he was doing some kind of like bio wall in, then I would have been behind because I wasn't probing up. And yeah.
Now on the Antigua game with the heavy blink stalker play off of 1 base, was that your intention from the beginning, or did the gasless FE trigger that, or what were your thoughts there in terms of not expanding right away on that?
Well, there was 2 things about going blink on that map. It was one, I don't think he was going to be expecting it on a map like that. It's just kind of you don't see it much, and it's good on maps with ramp to the natural that kind of has a long distance. So something like Shakuris is better, but Antigua still works. So I did that there because well, I did see the gases expand, and it's of course way better against that than any kind of bio build, like 2 racks or 1 racks FE. The blink all-ins are really good.
Moving away from the games, you mentioned beforehand that you're interested in going professional.
Right.
What kind of vision do you have?
Well, I'm currently in high school right now. I'm only 15 years old, so I'm gonna focus on school. Hopefully, go to college, graduate with some kind of bachelor degree, at least, and then and while the whole time still playing StarCraft. And maybe after that, if I don't know what I'm gonna go into college after that, then I can go StarCraft full time. So that's kind of what I see it as.
Cool. And how much time do you spend a day practicing?
Recently I've been practicing a lot more. Per day, laddering I probably spend at least an hour, and maybe even an hour and a half or 2 hours. But then there's also stuff I do on the side, like watch a lot of ProDOS streams, watch a lot of events going on, get some ProDOS insight from good players like Vines, and yeah.
Cool deal.
Yeah.
Well, do we have any more questions for him?
Well, can I like advertise my stream and whatnot?
Absolutely.
Sure, most
That's
definitely.
what's coming up next.
All right, so you guys can check me out at twitch.tv/Bails or SolidBails 906 SOLID solid Bails BAILS 906. And then you guys can get coaching from me at bailscraft.com. You guys can come on North America server and chill in my channel Bails BAILS, like I said.
I'm looking all this stuff up.
And Twitter and Facebook are relatively new, so you guys can follow me or whatever on that stuff. And yeah, I think that's it.
Cool, and I see you're on Team Liquid as well.
Yeah.
Sweet deal.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Well, thank you for. Sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
I was just gonna say you're being added to my stream favorites.
Oh,
That is
thanks,
all.
man.
Very nice. Well, thanks, Bales, for showing up today, and thanks for playing awesome games. Congrats for winning, and enjoy your $35. Just so you know, you have been entered to, or if you so desire, we're going to have a tournament here at the end of the season in May-ish. Date and prize pool to be determined, but we're having that for all of the winners of our Showmatch series to have a little playoff tournament at the end of the season.
Oh yeah, that sounds awesome, and I'd like to go to those.
Sounds great. Well, unless we have anything else to add, I think that'll wrap things up.
Cool.
All right, it's been a pleasure, Bales.
Yep. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a good one, sir.
And that will conclude our show match for now. And I think we're gonna just go on for a little bit here, playing around, right?
Yeah. If any viewers out there want to join channel MEL, we're going to be doing a few friendly matches here, mono battles or
Mono
any.
battles.
I think mono battles. There's the guy. How's it going? How did it look?
The first game, the leg was just horrible.
Yeah.
Skipping every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But after we restarted the stream, dude, it was flawless. So.
Yeah.
Hey, Aaron, do you want to stop the broadcast and start it again just so that we get it broken up?
Yeah. That sounds great. Actually, one moment.